Craziest laws in Japan. Hey everyone, it's Alexa again and welcome back to another video. Japan is a beautiful place to visit and live. There are many sights to see, traditions to learn, and yummy food to eat. It isn't all rainbows though. There are some zany rules out there you might not know exist. Listen to a few of them to ensure you don't land yourself in some serious trouble. But before we get into today's video, make sure that you're subscribed and ring the bell so that you never miss any of our upcoming videos. 21. Cooking fugu. Most of us know how to cook without having to go through school or extensive training. However, to prepare fugu, chefs must undergo 11 years of schooling, nearly as many years of preparation as it takes to become a doctor. For those of you that don't know, fugu refers to the pufferfish or blowfish. Eating certain parts of this fish is deadly because it contains a lethal poison called tetrodotoxin. To obtain this right to cook fugu, chefs need to complete a 3-year apprenticeship, take classes, pass a written exam, and show their skill by making at least a dozen different fugu meals. 20. No fugu over 80 seconds. On the topic of pufferfish, Japan made it illegal to cook fugu for more than 80 seconds. As implied earlier, blowfish must be cut and prepared a specific way to avoid serving someone a poisonous dish. Even with all that training, there are between 20 and 40 cases of poisoning a la fugu fish reported in Japan every year. The deadliest parts of the fish are the intestines, eyes, kidneys, ovaries, skin, and liver. 19. Climbing without a license. Are we talking about climbing mountains? No. What about climbing buildings? No again. This law prohibits people from climbing telephone poles without a license. We don't know why too many people would be doing this anyway unless it was their profession, but hey, it must have happened enough for it to be outlawed. There have been numerous accidents involving climbing power lines throughout the years. On top of that, Japan has even more power lines than other countries do. Japan cannot sustain underground power grids like other places because of all of the earthquakes. 18. Women banned from Emini. In Nara, Japan, sits Mount Emini, a sacred mountain covered in greenery, standing at an elevation of 5,600 feet. You would think it would be a lovely, spiritually satisfying hiking experience. While that's true, it's only accurate for a portion of the population. Japan banned women from climbing to the top of Mount Emini, a law that carried over from older Shinto traditions that reasoned women would distract men from the beautiful scenery. Women can still pass through the Kumano pilgrimage route, popular among tourists, but are not allowed to start a trek to the mountain's peak. 17. Stay decent when cold. During the summertime, it's a blessing to run into an air-conditioned building after being outside. For women in Japan, they need to be a little more cautious about what they wear on those hot days because it's illegal for them not to wear bras in a building with a cooling system. Even if your shirt isn't sheer, if anyone can tell how cold you are judging from your chest, you might face some legal trouble because it is considered distracting to men. 16. Always report explosives. Many places have implemented a type of see something, say something rule. If you are a passerby and you witness strange activity such as someone looking suspicious, abandoning bags, or congregating menacingly, then you're supposed to notify authorities. In Japan, if the police find out that you saw an explosive somewhere and didn't report it, you can be fined somewhere between 100 to 10,000 yen. 15. Money back election expenses. Running for a position in the government isn't easy. You need to be likable, make headlines, have policies people want, and hope that all the people that say they love you prove it at the polls. On top of that, funding a campaign is really expensive. You need to pay the people working for you, spend money on traveling and booking venues for your rallies. In Japan, people that are part of campaigning for an election may be reimbursed up to 12,000 yen for meals, snacks, and hotel expenses. 14. The rule of wedlock babies. There are two main ways someone can acquire Japanese nationality at birth: naturalization or notification. Naturalization happens in one of 3 ways: if either of your parents is a Japanese citizen, if the father is a Japanese national but dies before the child's birth, or if the child is born on Japanese soil. One interesting aspect of the rule is that if the mother is Japanese, the state automatically grants the child Japanese nationality. However, if the child is born to a foreign mother out of wedlock, the Japanese father must officially recognize the child when the baby is still in the womb. If they are too late to do so, they have to wait until the child is 20 years old to be recognized again. 13. Not a walk in park. The Japanese government is doing all it can to keep its parks as clean as possible. One of these rules includes prohibiting spitting saliva in a public park. The law allows Japanese citizens to spit in trash cans or even on the street. Once they cross into recreational park territory, however, make sure you keep some tissues on hand because there's no spitting out here. If authorities catch you, you may be fined 1,000 up to 10,000 yen. Plus, the offense may stay part of your permanent criminal record. Aside from spitting, noise levels are regulated at parks, as are the length of jungle gym slides and aggressively kicking balls. The government cites these actions as safety precautions, but many residents cite it as attributing to boredom. 12. Brew 1% only. Are you a fan of home-brewed beverages? Unless you like rather weak alcohol, you probably shouldn't move to Japan. In this East Asian country, it is illegal to homebrew a drink that is over 1% alcohol. For those who don't follow this rule, you can face up to 5 years in prison, plus a fine of 50 man yen. Americans, that's about $5,000. That entails no brewing any wine or beer at home unless you want something that tastes nothing like wine or beer. What you can do is brew non-alcoholic drinks that more or less have a taste that resembles beer but without the alcohol aftertaste. Is that any fun though? 11. Cutting in line. If you travel everywhere around the world, chances are you will find most cultures think lowly of people who cut in line. In America, people that choose to cut in a queue might be subject to dirty looks, complaints to the manager, or maybe some verbal altercations. In Japan, people who cut in line might face a different fate. Japanese culture emphasizes self-discipline and respect, so anything that practices rude behavior is looked down upon. If you gently slip in front of someone else, most likely that person may scold you or just silently feel appalled. If you decide to shove people out of the way, be prepared for a call to the police and a pretty hefty fine. 10. No money burning. The Japanese currency is renowned for always looking somewhat crisp. Banks often replace old notes quickly, and coins are usually clean. It is illegal to deface money in Japan, as is throwing money away. As a result, most bills and coins you see are in pristine condition compared to the currency from somewhere else. People consider it more polite to pay stores with neat bills rather than crumpled ones. 9. No drunk riding. It's a given that drunk driving is illegal. That's a universal law you'll find in most areas. But to take it a step further, Japan has prohibited drunk bike riding. Intoxicated cyclers may face a penalty of 5 years in prison and a fine of 1 million yen, which is around $9,000. Other rules bike riders should follow: don't use a cell phone while riding, no riding with 2 people on a single-person bike, no holding an umbrella while riding, and no riding side by side. That last one can earn you a 20,000 yen fine. 8. Don't take the trash yet. Japan's cities are famous for how clean the streets appear compared to areas of the same size in other countries. The Japanese take their garbage very seriously. There are specific bins for trash so that it's apart from recyclables such as paper, plastic, and aluminum cans. People that live in Japan have to be mindful of when they take their trash out to the curb too. Bringing out garbage bags too early may result in a fine. That seems ridiculous, but it helps prevent a gathering of animals at your door like birds, rodents, and cats. 7. The art of change. Math is a finite system, but people's actions are not. As a result, sometimes you are given too much change back after a purchase. In Japan, receiving too much change is against the law. If you leave a store with the knowledge that the cashier returned too much money, it counts as fraud. Also, don't give too much money when you pay for food either. Tipping isn't a custom in Japan, and your server may feel insulted that you left them extra money. 6. Under peer pressure. One of the big things they warn you about in school is alcohol and drugs, and that your friends will try their best to persuade you into doing stupid things. Most of us grew up in places where peer pressure wasn't as scary as the educational videos in class made it out to be. Japan doesn't have a lenient view on such matters. There, it is illegal to make someone drink. It's an interesting law considering that drinking in social settings is such a big part of their culture, but Japan sees aggressive peer pressure towards someone who doesn't want to drink as an act of coercion. 5. Report all alien life. And no, we don't mean alien as in someone who came from another country. We do mean alien as in from outer space. At least, that's what the Japanese government is looking for. If you do happen to discover life in outer space, you must report it to authorities. The government warns that extraterrestrial existence is a hazard to public health, so you must let the Secretary General of the UN know that you found aliens. 4. The divorce system. Here's another line women must make sure they don't cross. If you are female and want to file for divorce, go right ahead. Just remember that you must wait 6 months before marrying again. That sounds mostly reasonable until you hear that men do not have to abide by the same restriction. If a woman gives birth before these 6 months are up, guess what? That child legally belongs to your ex-husband, not you. 3. The brother law. Are you absolutely in love with your girlfriend? Well, we hope your older brother isn't too, because in Japan, he's legally allowed to steal her away from you. Supposedly, there is a law that states if your older brother wants to marry your significant other and they promise by law to honor you, then there is nothing standing in the way of him marrying her. The girlfriend must agree. We hope this one isn't true, though. 2. Say when you leave. Fancy a trip to Antarctica, the coldest, most desolate place in the world? Don't forget to let the Japanese government know. Tourism is on the rise in Antarctica, and all the government asks is that you report any intended trips to this southernmost continent. The government must clear your trip before you go. Before we reveal number 1, we've got a question. If you became the leader of a country one day, what is one rule you would create? What's an existing rule that you would get rid of? Let us know in the comments below. 1. Rules of a duel. Dueling seems like a practice that was left behind in the previous centuries, but not so in Japan. Say someone challenges you to a duel. You cannot insult them or embarrass them on purpose because it counts as defamation. Don't go ahead and fight them either because that's illegal too. Japan officially banned duels in the late 1980s, but that doesn't stop people from trying to start them. Another incentive to not duel is that if you perish during a duel, insurance companies won't pay your next of kin.